Hi, friends. Welcome to the Nomadic Spaces podcast. I am your host, Sarah Bronstein from Suka Interior Design. This is where we talk all things interior design, nomadic spaces, and happy homes. You'll learn interior design strategies to successfully transform your home into a beautiful and functional space that supports your unique lifestyle. If you are enjoying this show, please help us by taking a sec to subscribe, rate, share, or leave a review. Thank you for your support and for listening. Now, let's get into today's show. Hello, friends. How are you? Welcome back to the Nomadic Spaces podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Today's episode is a good one. It is called The 5 Most Common Interior Design Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. And we're going to count down some of the most common mistakes that I see having worked with clients for nearly a decade. And I've seen some pretty mind-blowingly terrible spaces. Interestingly, these design fails seem to fall within the same 5 types of mistakes, all of which will waste not only time and money, but will also prevent you from getting the outcome you're striving for. On this show, we talk a lot about what to do to improve your space. Today's a little different because we're going to be starting off with talking about what not to do. Please, y'all, stop doing these things. Let's get into it. Number 5 on our countdown is lighting. Lighting seems to be overlooked often by residents, homeowners, and builders. Builders will generally use the least expensive fixtures and install only enough to provide basic light. Layering your lighting is key. So you want to think about different types of lighting. So a combination of overhead lights, wall lights, sconces, floor lamps, table lamps. And the trick to ensuring that every room is successfully lit is to make a lighting plan that includes at least 3 types of lighting: ambient, task, and accent lighting. Each room should have overall ambient lighting to allow you to move around safely. An example of this would be overhead lighting. Task lighting for performing specific activities in the space, such as cooking or reading. An example of this would be a desk lamp. And accent lighting is used to highlight noteworthy items such as artwork or architectural features, or to make a statement. An example of this would be a statement floor lamp, or a chandelier in a grand entryway, or over a dining room table. A well thought out lighting plan will ensure that each room has enough light to perform any task that is usually done in that space. So example, in a bedroom, you'd want overhead lighting, maybe a floor lamp next to a reading chair, and then sconces or table lamps by each bedside. Another pro tip is to pay attention to light bulbs. You want to look at the color temperature and make sure that it is aligned with the purpose of the space. So typically you want softer lighting in places like bedrooms, and you might want brighter lighting in places like kitchens or main spaces, offices, etc. Number 4 is furniture. First, we're going to talk about furniture size. I see a lot of homes with pieces that are either way too big for the space or way too small. Scale and proportion are some of the hardest areas of design to master. And the key is really to have a balance of large and small pieces. You want to have variety, so think of a mixture of different sizes, shapes, and heights. This will add interest and variety to help draw the eye around the room. When selecting furniture of various sizes, you should also take into account the proportion and function. Example, how does the height of a table work with the sofa or chair it's placed with? The other note on furniture that I see people make big mistakes around is the placement. You can completely transform the feel of your home by rearranging furniture to improve circulation and maximize the traffic flow. I highly recommend using a floor plan, even just a sketch on some graph paper, to establish optimal traffic patterns without your existing furniture throwing you off. Start at the room's point of entry and then find the easiest path to the next entryway. In a room that only has one entrance, the traffic must flow around the furniture and back out the same doorway. There are exceptions to this, but unless you have a really small space, typically pushing all your furniture up against the walls ends up being awkward. It usually leaves large empty spaces in the middle and results in furniture that's too far apart for conversation and doesn't feel connected. Furniture placement will be super specific to your furniture, your space, and how you intend to use the room. Number 3 is what I like to refer to as matchy-matchy. This is when somebody sticks with one color and just tries to match around that one color. Think of like a rooms to go type situation where you just buy a furniture set. Your home should really be as unique as you are, and the best way to create an interior that expresses your tastes and individual style is to select each piece with intention. Your home should match both your unique aesthetic and preferences as well as your specific needs and lifestyle for each space. This is a really good reason to consider working with a design professional like myself. We go through this process and figure out what that is together. It might seem easier to take a page from your favorite catalog to guarantee everything in your space matches, but your room's going to lack character and interest. And it's likely that you know at least one person who will have a space that looks just like yours. Within matchy-matchy, a really common design fail that I see is 50 Shades of Beige. And spaces that lack one or more of the following: contrast, color, and texture. Number 2 is failing to establish a focal point. A well-designed room starts with a focal point. Focal point provides a center of attention and helps anchor the space. It should be a visually prominent feature that draws attention and gives the eye somewhere to land when you enter the room. Examples of this can be a fireplace, large windows. And if the space doesn't have any prominent architectural features, we can establish one by using furniture or decor, for example. This should be one of the first steps in the design process for each space, because the layout, going back to our furniture layout, of the room should be planned around the focal point. We have made it to the number 1 most common interior design mistake, and that is a lack of a plan. Not having a plan always results in a lack of cohesiveness. My pro tip is that this should really take place before anything else, if possible. Try to make the least amount of purchases and design decisions as you can until you have at least a general plan of action. Starting a design project without first making a plan is like driving to an unknown location without using a map. You might get to where you want to go in the end, but you will make a lot of wrong turns along the way. While not all design projects will require scale drawings and a full set of specs, you should always establish a few guidelines before you begin. Without a plan, purchasing items individually over time is risky. You want a plan to ensure that the space still feels cohesive, is functional, and all the pieces work in the space together with each other. Even when I shop and source locally at antique or thrift stores, I use lists and plans, generally knowing exactly what I'm looking for. Like most projects, a plan is, if not the most crucial step in the whole process. And that is literally what the Design Project Jumpstart is created to do. If you are guilty of any of these no-nos and aren't sure how to correct them, don't fret. Please give me a call, shoot me an email or a DM. I really want to help you find solutions for whatever issues or blocks are going on that are preventing you from creating your dream space. All my contact info is located in the show notes. And as always, thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much for listening. If you have a sec to subscribe, rate, share, or leave a review, that would mean the world.